Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Stringer, and a pleasure to serve in your chairmanship under these new arrangements. And so far, so good. The technology appears to have worked very well. I'm very grateful to the Honourable Member for Linlithgow and East Falkirk for introducing this debate here today in an excellent way. I pay tribute to the work the Honourable Member has done on the Petitions Committee. And I'm also very grateful to the contributions from all Honourable and Right Honourable members, many of whom have given very passionate speeches this afternoon, understandably so given the interest within Honourable and Right Honourable members' constituencies and their own personal connections with this part of India. And I'd also like to thank Councillor Gurchan Singh, who the Honourable Member for Oxford West and Abingdon rightly commended for initiating the petition and ultimately this debate. Now, there are clearly very strong feelings about the farmers' protests and press freedoms in India, both inside and outside of the House, as indicated by the fact that over 100,000 people have signed this petition, and can I thank every single one of them as well for taking such a keen interest and bringing this subject to the House. I'll try and respond to as many of the points raised by honourable members as part of my remarks, but I am conscious I need to give the Honourable Member for Linlithgow and East Falkirk a few minutes before the end of this debate. He says, hurriedly looking at a clock to see how long we've got. Mr. Stringer might give me a pointer at some point. So I can start by saying our officials from our network of high commissions in India have monitored and reported back on the protest in response to the agricultural reform laws ever since they first flared up in September. In January, the Indian Supreme Court suspended the reforms and established an expert committee to scrutinise the laws. We understand the committee has completed its consultations with concerned parties and will give a final report to the Supreme Court at the end of the month. We're also aware that the Indian government has met with farmers' unions on several occasions and that those talks remain inconclusive but are ongoing. Understandably, these events have caused alarm and uncertainty for many British people who have family ties to farming communities in India. The government's written response to this petition aimed to address those concerns while also making clear that agricultural policy is a domestic matter for the Indian government, as the Honourable Member for Aberavon, the official opposition spokesman, has also confirmed. However, the UK government believes firmly that freedom of speech, internet freedom, which has been raised by Wolverhampton, the Honourable Member for Wolverhampton South East and many others, alongside the right to peaceful protest, are vital to any democracy. And we also accept that if a protest crosses the line into illegality, security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order in a proportionate way. We encourage all states to ensure that domestic laws and the way in which they are enforced must comply with international human rights standards. And in that spirit, we look to the Government of India to uphold the freedoms and rights guaranteed to its people by its constitution and by the international instruments to which India is party. Now, during the debate, concerns have also been raised by Right Honourable and Honourable members, including the members for Islington North, Peterborough, Ealing Southall, and the SNP spokesman for the Honourable Member for Argyll and Bute, about press freedom in India. And again, let me be clear that this government believes that an independent media is essential to any robust democracy. That's why we are committed to championing media freedom around the world, as is evident from our ambitious media freedom campaign that we launched in November 2018. India has a vibrant media scene which promotes lively debate across the political spectrum, and the UK government has worked to support this democratic tradition. For example, in 2019 we awarded scholarships on our flagship Achieving programme to 7 talented and aspiring young Indian journalists. And last year we supported the Thomson Reuters Foundation to run workshops for Indian journalists to help them report on human rights issues. Now, my colleague, Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon, is the Minister responsible for both human rights and for our relations with India. He regularly discusses media freedom, including the Media Freedom Coalition, of which the UK is a founding member, with India's Minister of State for External Affairs. And members, honourable and right honourable members, will recognise that this is a time of great ambition for the UK's relationship with India. Both governments are working to advance shared priorities across trade and investment, health, sustainability and climate change, and defence and security. We're also working with India as a force for good on the UN Security Council and as one of the Prime Minister's guest countries at the G7 summit later this year in June. This cooperation will help us fix global problems, and it will strengthen prosperity and well-being in India and the UK. However, whilst this is an exciting time for the UK-India partnership, it does not hinder us from raising difficult issues. And a number of right honourable and honourable members, including the members for Ilford, Hayes and Harlington, Birmingham, Perry Barr, raised the upcoming visit of the Prime Minister to India. This will be an opportunity to and discuss a range of bilateral issues with India where we have serious and specific concerns. We will raise them directly with the Indian government, as you'd expect of a friend and neighbour. Candid discussions are an important part of our mature and wide-ranging relationship with the Indian government. Now, I know the Honourable Lady for Oxford West and Abingdon and the Honourable Member for Aberavon wanted to know what further discussions the United Kingdom has had since the Foreign Secretary discussed the farmers' protest with his counterpart during his visit to India in December. Well, this month alone, senior Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office officials have met with the Indian High Commissioner and discussed this very thing, the UK parliamentary interest in the freedom of civil society groups, for example, to operate in India. And Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon speaks regularly to his counterparts in the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, as well as to the High Commissioner here in the UK. Human rights issues are an essential part of these conversations. The Honourable Member for Oxford West raised the issue about Article 9. We've not made an assessment of India's agricultural bills in relation to Article 9. I will certainly consult officials on this, but would stress again that these reforms are a domestic matter for India. The Honourable Member for Birmingham Hall Green raised the issue of sanctions. This sanctions regime, which we launched in July, enables the UK to impose sanctions on those who commit serious human rights violations or abuses. It's not appropriate to speculate on who may be designated under the regime in the future, as to do so could very well reduce the impact. And again, the opposition spokesman raised the issue of Amnesty International in India. We raised this case with the High Commissioner on the 1st of December, and officials via Lord Ahmed, and our officials have raised our concerns most recently in November as well as December. So we've requested that Amnesty's accounts be unfrozen while the investigation is ongoing. In our contacts with the Government of India, we've noted the important role of organisations like Amnesty in a democracy.
Can the Minister bring his remarks to a conclusion?
I can.
Very quickly.
Thank you, Mr Stringer. Let me end by reassuring colleagues that the UK Government will continue to monitor developments relating to these protests incredibly closely, and where we have concerns, we will continue to raise them with the Indian Government while respecting the fact that these agricultural reforms are an internal matter.